We're going to ask some questions, and we hope you can give us some good answers.
I will do my best.
That's what we want to do. All right, the first question is, how was education stress growing up?
How was it stressed?
On you?
Well, it really wasn't stressed as much as expected. My parents expected that education would be at the forefront of my growing up. And I listened, and I ended up going to the best schools that were available where I grew up. And, the history is there with the fame that Dunbar High School in Washington, D.C. achieved. But I started out in junior high school and then went on from there.
Mm-hmm. Was there any grades that you were supposed to bring home? A's, B's?
No, I wasn't told to bring home A's and B's. But the expectation was that I would do well at what I was doing. And it was part of the family. My mother, my dad, they were both in education. And so I just had to deliver, but there was no pressure on me.
What do you remember what kind of grades you get?
I did well.
Good grade. Did you ever fail anything?
No. I did very well all along the way in junior high school, in high school, but I was in the very best classes that were available at the time.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite subject back then?
No.
No? You liked them all?
Well, I just did what I had to do, and I was very fortunate in that I was considered to be one of the stars of what was going on in D.C. for black folks. Okay, and when I was in high school, I ended up being the colonel of the high school cadet corps for the black schools. I got to be at the front of the marches and all of that, and I was very active in the church I went to, Asbury Methodist Church in D.C. on 11th Street. Mm-hmm. And so I was put in a position of doing good.
And is that kind of what led you into military? Is that what kind of got you interested in joining the Air Force and doing that?
Well, remember I was saying that the activity in D.C., I was the colonel of the high school cadet corps for all of D.C. for the black schools.
Oh.
I had the lead role.
You were the man.
I was the man. And I was there with the saber and doing all of the other stuff. And I've got loads of pictures to show all this. But I did that. And my mother wanted me very much to go into the ministry. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going out to Ohio to take care of my mother's wishes. And I went out there as a licensed local preacher to Ohio Wesleyan University. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Ohio Wesleyan, because of my experience being in the commander of the high school cadet corps for the black schools in Washington, I ended up being the colonel of the Air Force ROTC at Ohio Wesleyan University. And that led me into going into the Air Force.
And when you were doing that, was it something you enjoyed? Did you like being the head man?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh yeah,
I loved it. I was so into it. It was unbelievable how I enjoyed being at the forefront, being the one who was perceived as being in charge, the one who was perceived as being able to develop and build and create. That was all part of the game, and I loved it all.
Yeah. The next, that was one of the questions I had later, but I'll ask it now. You talk, when I went to school here at Maryland, so we talked a lot. So a lot of the stuff I've heard before, but I wanted to share with everybody else. You talk about playing the game a lot, and being in the game and knowing the game. That kind of comes, from experience, but also having kind of a clear understanding of what's kind of going on around you. Is that something you learned early, or is that a philosophy you built along the way, or talk a little bit about the game and you learning how to play it?
Well, it was a very clear thing to me that what you wanted to do when you got into education and you got into trying to create things, make things happen, you wanted to make sure that the scene was a good scene. And for me, that equated to one routine. You get the best schools you can get behind your back or on your, or you get that into your case. And if you end up on the West Coast, you want the best of the West Coast. And then you want to come back to the East Coast and get the best of the East Coast. And I have preached that's what makes you able to get the most money out of the situation. And this is all about the money. It really is about the money. It is not about anything else. Getting an education is about money. And you go to school not to become educated. You go to school to be able to make it work for you in a way that makes perfect sense. And for me, the perfect sense meant you get the best of both sides of the country. Then you can play anywhere in the country and do well. And it has proven to be true for me.
Yeah.
Okay? Because all my kids ended up going to Stanford, and they all came back east to go to Harvard and Yale. And that fit the pattern that I had in my head and that I tried to get them to understand, that you want to be able to put yourself in a position so that no matter where you are, you're going to be functional, you're going to be a part of the situation, you're going to be a person that can drive the action. And that's how I see it.
Yeah. Was that something that was taught to you, or did you just kind of see that?
I don't know that it was taught to me. I think I was very fortunate in that where I went to junior high school and high school, those things spilled over on me. Now, whether anybody was teaching me that or whether I just picked up on it, I don't know the answer to that. But I did know that when I went into the Air Force, I wanted to make sure that I not only could fly airplanes and drop bombs and kill people, but I could also become an astute educator along the way. That's what pushed me to go the way I did, and that's what led me to being down on the faculty at the Air War College in Montgomery, Alabama. And it was one of those things I just believed in, that education is so important because it is what allows you to get the money to do what you want to do.
Right. So with yours, you went to Ohio Wesleyan first, and then what was your kind of education path after that? And then you went to USC. And so what was the steps?
Well, I went to Ohio Wesleyan, and then when I was in the Air Force, I went to school. USC offered programs that I could pick up while I was in the Air Force. Yeah. And so I picked up three degrees while I was in the Air Force, and I picked them up from USC.
Speaking of Air Force, all the places that it's kind of brought you, Do you have a place that you miss the most, whether it be Hawaii or California? Is there some place that you just really enjoyed while you were there?
Well, I enjoyed Hawaii so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Hawaii.
Yeah.
California would be second behind Hawaii. California became an important place to me because the person you're named after, my firstborn son, David, that's where he's buried, in California.
Yeah.
At the cemetery.
Air Force.
Well, it's not Air Force. It's
Military.
It's like National Cemetery. As like the cemetery
Right.
here, it's just that's where it's located.
Right.
And that's where we were because he was so ill with leukemia, and we went to NIH and did all that stuff, and then they moved me out to California, where I could find a place that could give him care, and so he ended up dying out there, and that's how we ended up in California.
Yeah. When you talk, when you were president of Bowie College for a while, interim president, and
Interim, yeah.
Interim president. When you talk about that, usually, you really, all the stories I've heard, you really lit up and really enjoyed doing that. Talk about that for a little bit. Why you enjoyed it so much?
Well, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed being active with the university. God, did I enjoy it. That's one of the best things I've ever done in my life, is to be there. And it really upset me because I couldn't stay, because I had helped put into place rules that prevented someone of my age from taking a position as the president of a university. Just remember, I was a regent in the University of Maryland system.
Right.
And I felt that anyone over 70 years of age should not be in the position of trying to make major decisions for the university. And I got that through. And then the one thing I wanted so badly was to be president of Bowie. I had so much fun there. God, did I love it. I loved it so much. But because of the rule that I had helped put into place, I could not be any more than the interim president of Bowie State.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
What talk about it a little more. What did you love? What was
Oh my God, I love the interaction. I love the dealing with the students, the dealing with the faculty members, the staff. There was no part of interaction at Bowie that I did not love.
Yeah.
God, I loved it so much. There has never been a job that I wanted so badly as to be there as the president. I mean, I can't tell you any, I can't make it simpler. All I can do is start crying because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stay there because I felt so strongly about the position you can be in and the age you can continue to play the game. And I don't regret that feeling, but I regret not being able to stay at Bowie as the president.
Yeah.
God, I loved it.
How long were you interim president?
Interim president.
Interim. Yeah, that's what I said.
Interim. Yeah. I don't remember. Not long enough.
Well,
I mean, it's written down someplace. I got pictures down there in the basement that show the stuff. You've seen the pictures down in the basement.
Yeah.
But I can't remember exactly how long I was there, but I would say I was there, let's give it about an 18 months go. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That would be my best guess.
Yeah. All right. I think that wraps up my questions. Do you have any?
My question would be about our great grandfather, John, which would be your dad.
Oh, my dad?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So you want him to talk about
He was.
our great grandparents? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a little bit, because I don't really know much about great grandpa.
Or
Well,
grandmother?
Yeah.
Kinga?
Yeah.
Well, he was a hell of a fellow. He worked up on Capitol Hill. He was very much interested in getting a law degree, and he worked diligently to get the law degree. But they changed the routine along the way, how much time you had to spend. And he worked up on Capitol Hill, and he was, he worked as a waiter, or one of the, no, not just a waiter. It's
Butler.
no, the head guy among the, I can't remember the words that were used, but he was a top dog among the waiter class when he was on Capitol Hill, and coming out of Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, and he was always totally interested in education and moving along, moving the family along, moving himself along, and getting to the place where he could be what he wanted to be. I remember that I ended up with a car before he ended up with a car. It was a Buick, I think, that he ended up with. But I was in college at the time he got his first automobile, and helped teach him how to drive it. But it was just so interesting to know how diligently he worked and who he worked with. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, we were sitting up on Capitol Hill out on the grass, and there was something going on, and he was there to help make it all happen. And I wish I could remember totally all the details, but he was just so very active in dealing with the Congress and dealing with the people, and I had tours all throughout the halls of Congress while he was there, because he was such an important individual in working the Capitol Hill. That's what got me interested in becoming a lobbyist. And then my mother, Ginga as you call her, she was a teacher, and was teaching at one of the local schools near Howard University. And she was always pushing education. Both my parents pushed education to the limit. And I think that's why I ended up taking the turns I took, because they pushed it so hard and they were so diligent in their dealing with it and their perception of it and what they wanted my sister and I to do. And we were very fortunate, because when I was growing up, the little neighborhood we lived in, segregated of course, but the little neighborhood we lived in was staffed by all the top people in our community. The doctors, the dentists, the educators, all were within 2 blocks of where I lived.
Wow.
Growing up. So you got put into that perspective, and it was very difficult. 11th and Columbia Road, I'll never forget it, ever. which is right down the street from Howard University, Minor Teachers College, and all of the other noted places. And the kids I went to school with were the children of the best folks in the black community. Okay? I was just put into that environment so early on. And it was just, I guess it stuck with me. Or it molded me.
Yeah.
But what can I say?
That's great. It's awesome.
It was awesome. It was so damn awesome as to be unbelievable. Okay? Unbelievable. I find it difficult to believe that these things happened to me in my lifetime, and that I could pass along some of the information, some of the theories that I was given to my kids. It's been a wonderful experience. And I'm a lucky person.
I like it. I got a weird question. Fire trucks. What was into fire trucks? Where did they come from?
Well, no, it came because my sister's husband was a firefighter. And I started falling in love with fire engines because of seeing what he was doing and seeing him run around the town and so forth. And so I just got hooked on it. Okay? And over time, I became even more hooked.
Yeah.
And so then I wanted to have one. You know? I couldn't be a fireman, but I scrounged up all the gear and everything to wear, and had it hanging up in the garage here, and then I, since I'd been fortunate enough to make enough money to have the ability to do it, I bought the first fire engine.
Yeah.
And then after that, I got the second fire engine. Had it hauled in from Ohio.
Yeah.
So now I have both fire engines right up the street.
And the gear.
And the gear.
And the hats.
The hats, the gear, the boots, the whole thing. I got them. A lot of the stuff I have, I got from the Navy naval base.
Yeah.
Right up to, right not too far from here. And so they let me have all their old stuff, and I brought it on in here and I hung it up and made myself a little museum.
Well, I think that's really cool. Have a hobby like that, and then to go and get everything. Dive in.
Yeah, well,
trucks, gear. Booyah.
Yeah, well, and I got all this stuff hanging up around here.
Yeah.
That reflects on my interest in firefighting and fire engines and so on and so forth. I love to turn on the lights. The firehouse that's right around the corner. I moved here into this location because part of my thinking over time was that keep the insurance down, you locate near the firehouse. Then you don't have to pay as much in the way of insurance because you're close to the firehouse. And that's what started it. And I hang out with the folks at 733, which is a station nearby. But it just makes it so much cheaper, insurance-wise, to be where I am.
Yeah.
And I would always locate, because I'm always trying to do the best I can. Wherever I am, I try to locate where I can make out as best I can. And that means cheaper insurance is being close to the firehouse. Okay? And the other thing you want to do is be in a neighborhood where the public, where it's the best of the public schools. You know, you don't want to pay for private schools. You want to be where the best public schools are. And that's what I have pushed for all along the way. So that wherever I located, it was in a neighborhood that had the very best public schools. Because I'm into this idea of saving money, but also gaining from being involved in a situation. And that's, you know, I just go for it. It's all part of my my feeling of how you get the most out of it. You know, you can look out in the driveway and you can see all these Ford vehicles. Well, that's because I went to work for Ford Motor Company and retired from Ford Motor Company. Mm-hmm. And the vehicles I have out there speak to that involvement. And, you know, I had a good time at Ford, retired from Ford, and I still get every model year 2 vehicles for the model year. I only have one of them out here now. That's a Taurus. But I get 2. And the price is great, because all of this is based on doing the best you can with what you have. Okay? My business in the Air Force was also been doing the best I could with what was available to me. And I wanted to get, you know, I did my time in the Air Force, got what I wanted from the Air Force, but I did not want to be a general officer because it's too restrictive. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get what I could out of it and then move on.
Right.
And I did that. And it worked for me. The Air Force was very upset with me because I went ahead and finished my last degree. They wanted me as a line officer. Right. In other words, one who does combat on a regular basis. And they did not want me in anything else. And I ended up on the faculty down at the Air War College. And then I left them. And they were just so upset because, well, your grandmother and I gave them an image that they wanted to have. Your grandmother, she was almost 6 feet tall, or was 6 feet tall, and we photographed well together, okay? At that time I was 6'3" and not so emaciated as I am now. But we photographed well together, and they wanted that image out there so it could be projected. And
makes sense.
Well, I can remember when Colin Powell was chief of staff in the Army or whatever it was, and the Clintons were being inaugurated. Okay, and they were marching down the Constitution Avenue, and there was the stands there for all the VIPs. Right. Okay, and Colin was down there, and I was able to walk up and talk to him because I was sitting in the stands also. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in the stands as a Ford representative. I had a good time. I got to know the people who made things run around the Washington, D.C. area, and it was great. I have no regrets.
Nice. Is there any sort of main philosophy on how you went about doing all these things? Did you have one motivation to go through, or was it new things inspiring you to do these new, bigger, better things?
There was no one thing inspiring me, but there was this thought that you make as much out of a situation as you can make out of it. And you try to put everything in place that helps you get to where you want to be. And where I wanted to be was where I could get the most money out of whatever I did. Because I thought the money was the way this country works, the way the world works. If you can't move the money, you can't play. And I believe so strongly in that. I haven't changed my mind. It is still very much part of my thinking. It came down to such simple things as, and I think I mentioned this before, you want to get the best of the West and the best of the East. School-wise. Because that allows you to play the game anywhere in the country if you have the best tickets. Okay? And I push that with my children. So they all ended up going, we got on to California, they all ended up going to Stanford. And they all came back to go to Harvard and Yale. And they listened to the theories that I pushed about how you get the best out of this country. Excuse me. And that is getting the best educational systems behind you, supporting you. And that has not changed one iota. Not one iota. I haven't changed any of that, thinking-wise. I believe in it, and I will continue to believe in it until you throw the dirt in my face or burn my butt. So it's the way I see things, and the way I pushed it. And I can remember talking to my oldest son about what he ought to do because of his playing football for a team. I said, get into the community. Make yourself visible in that community. And get an asset. Place where you can live, place where you can work, place where you can be seen. But get someplace close to where you played football and made a name for yourself so that you have an asset. And he listened. He listened. And we have benefited from that effort, financially, as well as being perceived as players in the community.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the story about how you first saw Grammy King?
No.
He hasn't heard it. That would be a story I think could be good to tell.
I was involved with another woman out of Ohio.
He was engaged already.
Well,
got the ring and everything.
I don't remember giving that woman a ring.
Well, you did something to get engaged.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Anyway, tell the story.
Well, I was involved with this woman who also went to Ohio Wesleyan, and she was a daughter of a dentist or a doctor or something.
How old are you? You remember?
Huh?
18, 19, 20? You remember?
I don't remember how old I was at the time. I would say I was probably 18 to 19. But
yeah. Imagine that, getting engaged at your age, huh?
But I mean, but anyhow, I'm driving down the street, heading. I was older than that because no, I was already in the Air Force. I was driving down the street, so I was older than that. I was driving down the street with this woman, and in the car, and
This is in Ohio?
in Ohio, at Ohio Wesleyan,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw your grandmother walking down the street with with another woman, and the woman I was with said, "Oh, there's my friend so-and-so. Let's say hi." So I pulled over in the car, and your grandmother smiled and stuck her head sort of in the window, and I lost it. I lost it right on the spot. Yeah, I mean, I said, "Oh my God." And so that's what led us into getting together. And we got together. I was in the Air Force already before we started goofing around. And in Omaha, Nebraska.
What happened to the other girl?
I have no idea.
You just dumped her?
Yeah. I have no idea where she is or what happened to her, and don't care. No, don't care.
No. Well, thanks for all your sharing. And,
I mean, I'm appreciative that you wanted to ask me these questions.
well, yeah, for
And
sure.
Yeah, it's our history.
you have a hell of a history.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The family has a hell of a history. And one that they can be tremendously proud of. One that encompasses so many things. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's involved. As you delve into it and look into it, you will find that there's just so much. I don't remember a lot of things because A, I'm old, and B, so much went on. I had a checklist. Remember, I was a pilot, and I did things according to the checklist. And all of my life, I have been following a checklist in terms of what I would do and when I would do it. And you know something? Damn checklist has worked for me for so long and so well. Okay? You do what is in the list. You follow the plan. You follow the plan, and it takes you where you want to go. And I learned that flying airplanes and being in the Air Force. I remember after I had gotten out of the Air Force and found a place and bought this house because it fit the plan, that, you know, the checklist. And I took him up to the local school, Churchill, and I told him, because you're tall and so forth, I know they're going to come after you with regard to playing football or something. And if they ask you about football, if you know, blah, blah, just tell them, have you played any football? Just tell them a little bit. Well, I took him in there, and he was standing, of course, over me. And they went bananas right at the moment I took him in there. And they started on him. And that's what got it all started in this community. And so he, you know, all the kids went to school in this community. 2 of them went to Herbert Hoover, and the older kids went to Churchill. But they all ended up going to Churchill eventually. But, you know, all of that fit into the Potomac routine. Potomac has a name. Okay? It is a very expensive neighborhood. It's a very sought-after neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so they they went on from there. And we've been doing our thing since then.
Yeah, Dad and Uncle Jonathan, they still have their records up in Churchill, their high school. Jonathan has the 40, and Dad has the shot put, or is it
Shot put, yeah.
So the records are still there and haven't been beaten. So that's something to be noteworthy about, even way back in high school.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a case of trying to take advantage and using what you have to gain. And it worked. It's still working. It's still working.
Nice.
Do you have the checklist?
No.
Yeah. You just have it in your head?
Yeah.
What, did you cover pretty much the checklist? What we talked about?
I think so.
Yeah.
There are some key things that I think are important. Get the best out of what's available, because it affects the money that's going to come your way. Mm-hmm. It affects your position, your viewed position in whatever you decide to do. Okay? And it's a case of you use the system to get the most out of it. I believe in it. I can't change that, because I believe in it so strongly. So very strongly.
Sweet. I think the interview is wrapped.
Agreed.